Welcome to the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Marian, embodied leadership coach, holistic wellness consultant, and TEDx speaker. I'm on a mission to empower individuals and organizations to thrive from the inside out. Cheyenne, welcome to the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here. And I was just really drawn to you and to your profile after I saw you on The Vault. It was sort of like this live, and I know it was recorded too, but sort of online gathering conference of really just amazing conscious people doing a lot of different things, but really coming in and kind of showing what is possible for people like us, really open-minded, coming in to usher the new earth, all of that stuff. But I loved even more, I think I saw like the spiciness of your page, which I was like, yes, she is one of my people. I was a pro dom years ago, so that's why when I saw the shibari, and like, I feel there's a pipeline sometimes from like sex work to holistic healer, spiritual, like especially in, the dark femme stuff. So I'd love to dive into it. But before that, can you introduce us to, which I know it's a loaded question, but share with us and everyone listening and watching here on YouTube a little bit about yourself and who Cheyenne Sapphire is.
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. And yeah, I'm a performance artist. I'm an art director. I'm a Tantric dominatrix, and I am a Tantric coach. And I love empowering women to live their most authentic, powerful selves, and love exploring life and creating ritualistic art for humanity to evolve and be in nature and explore the full spectrum human experience.
Yeah, I love that. So can you take us back a little bit about how, I heard a little of your story when you were giving your talk, but like it isn't those things, especially in Tantra and like Tantric work. It's not like, when they ask us when we're younger, what do you be when you grow up? It's not like, yes, I want to be a Tantric dominatrix. It's not like one of those things that flow. How did life unfold for you to get you on this current path that you're on and this expression?
Like, meaning the Tantric dominatrix path, or
just in general, like all the beautiful things that, the performance, the shibari, all that stuff.
I know, it's just there's so much, there's like different things and they're all connected, it's just
So I get it. I totally get it.
I'll try to be succinct. So I've been a performer my whole life. I've been on stages since I was 4. I grew up in a really artistic household. My mother is a spiritual woman and a really amazing artist, as is my stepdad. And even my biological dad, like, he was Rasta. Like, there's a lot of spiritual elements in my bloodline and in my upbringing. And I was like in the arts, immersed in that my whole life, was doing yoga since I was 10, meditating when I was 10 as well, like learning these different healing modalities at quite a young age. And yet I wasn't ever like encouraged to pursue the arts or anything. I was encouraged to go a staple route and, go to university, get a job, all the things like that. And so it was really challenging for me to, love myself through that and to follow that stable path. Although I did that, I went to university. I was starting to create my own business doing environmental work at music festivals, and, was working jobs in that field, which is really beautiful because I love the earth so much. And I felt like something was drastically missing because I'd be working at these music festivals, literally doing garbage waste management at them. And I'd be in these full costumes and they'd be environmentally friendly and everything. But people would be like, when are you on stage? And I'd go, oh, no, I'm not an artist. And they'd look at me and go, are you sure about that? Like, what if... And I just go, no, I don't do that. Like, even though all my friends were musicians, I'd be backstage with them. You know what I mean? I'd be dancing and all these different things. But I had so much self-doubt. And I think in part about it was because I was constantly told, like, you can't go down this path. And I also had scoliosis, and I couldn't pursue dance in the way that I wanted to in like a dance company because I had chronic pain and my back is slightly crooked. So I had a lot of self-hatred about my body and felt like I was cursed and that everyone else could do it and except me. And it really, really sucked for a long time. I couldn't walk a block without needing to pause and take a break and stretch my body. And yeah, I really struggled with depression and like self-hatred. And, I actually studied yoga, and I went to a kind of different type of yoga than hatha in ashram in Nicaragua. And that's really when I started to open my clairvoyant gifts a lot. And I started to believe in myself more. I like ended this reoccurring nightmare I used to have for like 15 years. And I really started to open and be able to like see spirits and see things and hear things and heighten my intuition. And I learned how to take care of my body in the way that nourished myself and my scoliosis. And then in one of those trainings, there was a Tantra training, and I thought, wow, this is for me. Like that really resonates in terms of the full spectrum experience. She was referencing
Mhm.
the like the intensity of the experience, and she was telling us like Tantra is a path to enlightenment. There's different folds to enlightenment in the Buddhist traditions, and that this path was the most intense because you feel so much. And I just thought,
Mhm.
that's me. I really wanted to call it in. So I wasn't like, I'm not someone who just searches online. And this was before I learned about human design. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm a projector. That makes sense. And so things started coming to me essentially. And I
Mhm.
started like teaching blindfolded movement classes. And really, I began doing that for myself to heal because I literally would look in the mirror and just hate what I saw because
Mhm.
the scoliosis, because of other ailments that I had, and just like hated that I couldn't do what I knew I was meant to do.
Mhm.
Going into the darkness really was so liberating for me because I didn't have the comparison. Not sure
Mhm.
if listening has ever struggled with a comparison, but I have a lot in my life. And, I couldn't look in the mirror. I couldn't think about what other people are thinking. And that's when I started moving in different ways and started attuning my body to what my intuition wanted. And that's sounding, which again was groundwork for becoming the channel that I now am.
Mhm.
Yeah, I essentially like met someone. We moved into a Tantra home together. We lived there for 5.5 years together. We activated each other a lot. Then I started going to trainings. I started going to like reading books and everything. I had a Kundalini awakening, but I resisted it for a while because I just felt like I didn't want to be one of those airy spiritual people and I wanted to be grounded. And it just kept coming to me, like people started asking me like, can you lead me through a mushroom ceremony? Or can you be my coach? And I would say, no, like, what are you talking about? I don't know anything. And then it just like kept like happening over and over again. And then that even led with like the tantric domination work that I do. Um, and people would say to me like, "Oh my god, I just want to like bow at your feet," or "I just want to like," and it would happen even in ceremonies, like men and women, like they when I would be channeling the goddess, and then they would just
Mhm.
bend over crying, like feeling the transmission, but I didn't have like a word for it then. I had never played with BDSM, and I thought that was quite dark. And also, I just want to be clear, I actually don't do sex work, so I'm not like a dominatrix like the classic doms that you see out there, and I never have. And so, yeah, it was just like interesting that it kept coming to me again in these like different ways. And then I had so much shame about that and didn't understand. And I wanted to heal my relationship with men, actually, although, of course, it's always a continuous journey before I went into that realm because I could see that was a lot of dark shadows being played out with women who are wanting to pay back with men or wanting to like get at them for something and coming from a shadow self rather than a pure and empowering self. So
Mhm.
did a lot of work with my inner little boy and my masculine while living in Hawaii. And then I just like went in. So a lot of my life, I just feel this insane bodily reaction and then I act upon it essentially, and sometimes it's wild what happens. Sometimes it's crazy. Sometimes then I'm like moving to a new country or moving here or moving into this house. Don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but like I know I need to be there. And like everyone else might say like, are you sure? But I'm like, yeah. And then it ends up being like the right journey for me. And that's kind of how I like began all of this in trying to be as short as
Yeah.
possible. You know,
There's a lot of things. I love that, and I think that's such a testament to really trusting that intuition, and for a long time, I really fought that within myself, and I was one of those that when I grew up, I experienced a lot of childhood trauma, childhood sexual trauma. So when the opportunity to become a BDSM to be in BDSM. It's always kind of been on my periphery. I've always kind of been interested in it. To be a dominatrix came, it really was. I did marketing, and I answered this ad for to help build a website for this company. And when they talked more, they're like, "Yeah, it's a little bit different." And they started sharing with me. And when I went to meet them, I actually had a meeting at their dungeon. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." We were talking about marketing stuff. They were like, Asian doms are very in high demand. And I was like, I'm the type that, like, you know what, if I feel, I'm just gonna go with it, even if it doesn't make sense. And I did, this was before my awakening. I went in it with that kind of like, I wanted to get back at men because men had hurt me so much. My father, all these. However, through that experience, in hindsight, I was like, wow, it actually helped open up my clairs because I started understanding nonverbal communication. I started having more compassion because I've always been a good listener. And I literally say one of my superpowers is people tell me their deepest, darkest secrets, and it really shifted how I viewed men because I started seeing their little boy when I would have sessions with them. And then, fast forward after years of, spiritual growth and awakening, like it's more, it's only me and my partner now. We only practice like conscious BDSM, and really like there is a shadow, but there's also this beautiful light to it when it's conscious kink. When you're able to take your power back that was taken from you, especially, in a sexual manner. So I love that, when you are, like you said, when you channel, they just wanted to bow to you. I had those experiences, because they do call us the mistress. I always just went by goddess.
Yeah.
And but it did, they just wanted to, like, in reverence, and in awe of, just like they feel the energy, um, and it is really so potent. And when you look back at, like, texts before God, I mean, there was a book, like, God was a woman, like, when you think of Mother Nature and Mother Earth, it's all just so feminine, creator is so I'm seeing, the theme is goddess rebirth. And I wanna talk about that because when you really, like, I feel when people really get to the essence, of their truth and moving into flow, they have more reverence for the goddess, for women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I actually don't like dom a lot of men. I mainly like it's like I have explored that, and I have like a couple subs who I've been working with for a few years, and it's interesting. It's like they're more like service subs, and we don't even do anything that's like erotic. With they're just like wanting to honor me and the work that I do in this world. And then now it's like I actually just do what I call surrender ceremonies. And this is for women who are wanting to really learn to let go and be in the body. And I help
Mhm.
these initiatory rites of passage to step into their empowered selves by letting go and unraveling and coming to what is underneath all of those masks and the struggle that they've had.
Yeah. I love to dive a little deeper because when people think, you said you're a tantric dominatrix, is that what you say? When people do think of dominatrix, they think of the traditional. What's a tantric dominatrix?
Right, and, it's interesting because sometimes I don't it's not even on my profile, like, I kind of want to create a new name for it because, yeah, it's like, it actually, like, it's very different than what it is, and I'm developing my own method, actually, and my own style, and so I'm
Mhm.
to create a specific word for it because it really does fuse in Tantra, energy healing, the coaching that I do,
Mhm.
and sound healing instruments, poetry, channeling, as well as shibari, as well as aspects of BDSM. So it's really
Mhm.
unique, and it's not like there actually is like a modality of like, here are the people who do this. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I've started training some women in it, doing some foundational aspects to then do in-person trainings for it because I found that so many women were wanting to explore this within themselves, yet didn't want to pursue it in the way that other dominatrixes do it. And I get it.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. And I've done several trainings in femdom and BDSM, like classic femdom and BDSM, and worked one-on-one with the dom. And I just felt like I actually don't resonate with with a lot of this, like I'm not
Mhm.
people small. And I also like really hold my sacred sexual energy. I'm like hella particular with who I share that with. And I just
Mhm.
didn't want to do that. And I thought, okay, but this can be really healing. It can also be deeply healing for ancestral work and
Mhm.
traditions, and also just with helping people let go. And I actually love to be submissive. Like the more I've explored my Dom self, the more I have surrendered into life, the more I also have healed my relationship with men and like
Mhm.
being their inner little boys, and also like wanting to just let go as well and just be like,
Yeah.
so it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love it because I think that, like, through and it is so needed, right? That sensual shibari that I had an event that I did called Goddess Magic, and one of the performance artists was sensual shibari, but it was just so artistic, and it really shifted what a lot of people thought, shibari, and like one shibari is artistic in general, but the way that they both, it was ceremonial, before even the rigor with the women that were tied had like a really intentional, like, this is an honor to do this for you. This is an honor. Like, it was just so beautiful. And when people saw that, they were like, oh, this is different from what I anticipated. And
And
when I share about like energy dynamics, because I do practice Tantra and conscious kink with my partner. And he's actually the only person I've ever subbed to, just
right.
because it felt so much safety and surrender. And I
Yeah.
think when people think submissive, they think, oh, you're like the weak one. Actually, like, we hold the power,
That's
and it's a gift. Submission in the right form is like a gift, because you trust that this person knows how to hold you, knows your boundaries and
yeah.
will honor them, and also will really tune in to you. And I think that's such a gift. You said you have your clairvoyant abilities and all that. Like, when I started learning, like, it did come. Like, you just tune into someone and you sense their energy way more than what they could say.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful because there is such it's so tied together.
It really is. And I love how you said, we are the ones that hold the power in regards to the submissive. And one of the mentors that I've studied with, Colette Pravat, she once shared that the like in the dungeon, although I don't work in dungeons, I work in like it's my temple space, like in the temple, we have the submissive has the ability to choose their bondage and remove it. Whereas in the real world, we are all bonded to something, whether paying rent every month or our bills or our parents or capitalism or whatever it is. And we can't just be like, nah, I'm not going to do this right now without consequences, or then I'm going to just do it now and then do it off and take it off. And then in the temple space, you can say like, okay, I am going to bond myself here. I am going to release it here. And it can be so liberating to do that. And then also when we are actually in bondage, like, yeah, definitely need to figure out a new word for Tantric dominatrix or whatever. But like with the shibari or being bonded, it's like I also coach people. I did a ritual just yesterday, and I was coaching her to really tune into her goddess aspect that she birthed this universe. These ropes are nothing. This Maya is the illusion. It is the material realm. It is a dream.
Mhm.
It is a fractal of the whole. And so it's like that can then and then with the other coaching that I do throughout the ritual, it's like whatever struggle you're going with in life, really, can you take a grander, more than bird's eye, universal, past the solar system view of this? And it's like, you are God. You are okay. You are more than okay. You're abundant. You're beautiful. You are so powerful. You are such love. Right.
Mhm. Yeah, I think done in the for me, in the and I love having these conversations in a safe, correct way is so healing. For me, it helped me heal a lot of my trauma
Yeah.
because when I did sessions, I was able to take that power back, stop when I wanted, go when I want, like all these things that I think when the abuse happened, I had no control, right?
Right.
And like that was taken away from me without consent, without all that. And so I think, like, one of the things that I talk about is really, like, having people shift this, like, negative stigma of these type of things because there's always a shadow and light side of it's all a tool. right? Like it's all a tool. It's how we use this tool. And
Mhm.
I think what you're doing is so beautiful because it is super liberating and it is such a work of art. So like you talk about prayer formance, right? And that's also something you do. Can you I love these like one creating new etymology. I love it. I love all this. I love all it because we can birth words too and like the meaning around it. Can you
Yeah,
tell us more about that?
yeah.
I love words. I studied, the
Oh,
psychology and conscious language and all that. There's power. Words are spells. So like,
yeah,
yeah.
you guys are equals again. Awesome. Well, yeah, you can help me create a name to this other method. Love you. Yeah, so with performance, it's interesting, like the birthing of new words or new modalities, it also comes from the birthing pains of not fitting in anywhere. It's
Mhm.
not like I just like did these trainings and I thought, oh, I'm gonna create my own style of tantric domination. No, it was a struggle. Like I'd be like, should I stop posting things, stop posting? Fear not helping my friends, calling my best friends. What do I do? This feels interesting. I don't resonate with this. I don't want to do this. Body saying no. Then with art as well, it's like I'm do spoken word, but I'm not a spoken word artist. I dance, but I'm not this type of dance. I'm really channeling and bringing like deep prayer, and these are tantric invocations of the divine that are coming through. And I'm not actually just talking about like my ex-boyfriend didn't call me back and this. It's like everything that comes through me, it's like really comes from the visualizations, that the rather the visions that come through me, and it
Mhm.
like pours through me. And that's why I thought, okay, this feels different. And with performance, someone actually gave that to me as well, which is kind of a theme, even as I'm realizing, like, a lot of these things, I wasn't like, I'm gonna do this. It was just like
Mhm.
brought to me, brought to me, brought to me. And I did this show, and someone came up to me, and this was 6 years ago now. And he said to me, he had tears in his eyes, and he said, "You don't perform, you perform." And it just hit me, and it completely created a visceral reaction in my body, and I started to cry as well, and I thought, "Wow, he sees me. He
Mhm.
gets it." And from then on, I just kept it and started using it, and now it's like what I do, It's like I'm not an entertainer. I've never been an entertainer. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to awaken your soul and awaken Kundalini, for you to live your truth in God.
Mhm. I love it.
Yeah, that's what came through.
Yeah. What projects are you working on right now if you want to share that
Yeah,
any of the projects that you have that
totally.
you'd like to share?
There's several, and yeah, I've been in more of a cocoon phase. Also, it's the dead of winter right now, and I live in a cold climate, so that also makes sense. And in this cocooning, I have been planting seeds and working behind the scenes, on some new projects that I'm creating. So first, I do have an online like intro to tantric domination course that I'm working on. I've led it before, and I'll be leading that again soon. And then I'm working on releasing my album. So I have my debut album that's coming out, and I've been releasing some singles with that as well. And yeah, I'm excited about creating the album release party. And it's going to be really primal and animalistic and lots of costumes. And I just really love creating spaces where it's not just like the audience is witnessing the performer or the channel having these beautiful, insane experiences, but where they get to partake as well. And that's also part of performance, where like in pretty much every show that I do, I also then have an aspect where I am teaching or I'm guiding people to experience what I'm experiencing as well, and to
Mm, mhm.
experience some tantra, to move their bodies, to open their gifts as well, because this is a collective movement here, right? And so yeah, so I'm building some shows as well and some ritual theater, and I'm not going to share where they're going to be yet, but they're going to be in really dope places around the world. And again, it's just like bringing the audience into.
Are you ready to thrive, not just survive, in your life, leadership, or career? At Thriver Lifestyle, we believe thriving isn't just about success. It's about alignment, vitality, and creating a lasting impact. For women leaders, our coaching programs are designed for high-achieving, busy women who are ready to reclaim their power. If you're feeling burnt out or disconnected, we guide you to transform stress into flow and burnout into balance. Through somatic practices, breath work, and mindfulness, we empower you to lead with authenticity, confidence, and vitality. For corporations, Thriver Lifestyle helps forward-thinking organizations cultivate thriving workplace cultures. We created customized wellness programs that foster employee well-being, build resilience, and improve morale, unlocking the full potential of your team and company. Whether you're an individual ready to transform or an organization ready to evolve, Thriver Lifestyle is here to help you thrive. Visit thriverlifestyle.com today to learn more and schedule a consultation. Because thriving is more than just a goal, it's a way of life.
Their own awakening as well, their own embodiment, as well as witnessing other, international performers, high priestesses, priests, like demonstrating what can happen.
Yeah.
Do this.
Yeah, I love that. And I think really our bodies, like so much is in the soma. And so I mean, what really has helped me and what I teach a lot of my clients is really body based.
Yes.
As I've really gone through this spiritual journey, it started off in the head, but like embodiment is so key. And so when I do my talks too, it's like I just naturally move and the audience like move and I encourage them like feel it in your body. Like don't just leave the transmission here, right? Like actually like soak it in, and then ground it to the earth and then just meld together. And it's just because
Yes.
they are just one, and you start really feeling the connection to all of it. And I love that. So I would love to know when you're doing your performance because that's amazing. All about that, the melding of spirituality. I mean, that's what Goddess Magic was. It was art, performance. It was basically just an ode to the goddess and how women channel artistry in various forms. So we had like women DJs, we had like vendors, and they all like created different things, and it was amazing. I'm planning to do it again in maybe LA or New York this year.
Let me know.
Yeah, yeah. I'll send you on Instagram. I'll send you the link to the last one I had in Miami during Art Basel. But it was, yeah, just like and open to all that. Like prayer, like to be a part of it. Like we are living art. We are the art and the artist. We are the muse, and like we are the inspiration as well. And I think when people really wake up to that reality,
Mhm.
that it's the world really becomes our oyster. Like life is that's why I'm so called to Tantra, because it's like, no, it's not like pleasure is in everything,
Yeah.
in the mundane,
Right.
in all of it,
Yes.
even in the messiness.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I love that. And yeah, you just said that so eloquently. And I say very similar statements in terms of being the muse and the artist and again, being able to embrace the multifaceted essence of your being. And that actually is the distinction that I do feel from dominatrix to like goddess, right? Which is the goddess is multifaceted. She has many all faces. She comes in many forms. She is messy. She is vulnerable. She is terror. She is peace. She is love. She is arousal. She is grounded. She is flying high. Like she is every form, right? And then we can channel these different archetypes to utilize them in deep reverence and respect throughout our day to day lives when we are faced with certain challenges or predicaments or experiences that we need to move through with ease, right?
Yeah, and I think the huge lesson that for anyone like really listening is like you can forge your own path. I've always loved artistry, and for a long time I said like, "Oh, I'm not artistic" because I couldn't draw.
Right.
Like for me, like I couldn't draw or like paint the way that I saw people do like portraits and things like that. So I was like, "Oh, I'm not an artist," but the
Right.
artistry comes in different ways, and for me, it was funny. I used to do business coaching when I was in corporate. I did marketing, business coaching. I love doing photo shoots, but I would do photo shoots like really out there, crowns, goddess stuff. And they were like, "You're a business coach. Why are you doing something like that?" I'm like, this is just what want to come out and feel and like all of this stuff. And now I love it. Yeah, it's just, I just love doing it, like seeing the artistry and like making it come to life.
Amazing.
But yeah, art is, it's so many different forms. Like,
Really is.
yeah.
It really is. And I love that you were the business coach and doing marketing and had those gorgeous crowns as well. That's so brilliant. I'd love to see those someday.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a precursor because now, like, I love it. Just made sense. This was before I was able to fully like marry the spiritual, and was kind of like in that in between when I was like, no, I'll just leave the spiritual behind the scenes, and this is kind of, what I do professionally. And as the years went on, it was like, nope, this is me. Like, this is who I am. Like, take it or leave it. This is all of me.
Yes, and I even love, the movement too. Like it's like you're receiving and claiming it. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really do want to emphasize that as well and mirror that for whoever is listening. Like you can forge your own path, like really. And I have done it, and I hear so many of my clients too who have this fear of like, well, how is this going to work for my brand? Or like, maybe I'll show this here, but not here, or I'm going to do this, but this, and that's still creating separation consciousness and fragmentation rather in your psyche, right? Like saying one is okay for certain people, not for others. And then it's like, well, where is your self-love? Are you hiding aspects of yourself to certain people? What's your relationship like with your partner? Like, how are your
Mhm.
friends or your family? Like, are you like, I present myself like this, but then here I'm like this, or there I'm like this. Why? We don't need to.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't need to. Of course, depending on where you live, like there are certain nations where it's hella dangerous and things like that. If you're in the Western world, in certain areas, and we have that absolute privilege and freedom to be in our expressed selves as women, it's like you're good.
Yeah.
You're protected, and knowing that and trusting yourself and that your expression is meant to be here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive.
Mhm. And I think what people need to also realize is that the more you actually express your authenticity, and authenticity has like one of the most magnetic, it is the most magnetic vibration,
Mhm.
you will attract those nuance of people that are so into you. Like, and it's magical because 'cause you're like, "Wow, you get my certain kind of, like, magic and craziness," like, all of it, and it just, like, fits, and we just get each and, like, you just find more of those, like, deeper connections than the sort of shallow base level because that's what you're willing to show.
Totally.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely agree with that. Yeah, it's like the vibration that you are vibrating at. I like to think of the metaphor of, in Finding Nemo with the turtles, and they're in different currents, and some of them go this fast, and some of them go this fast, and some of them
Mhm,
go this way. And it's like every current is a current. No current is greater than the other or worse than the other. It's simply a current. And yet you
mhm,
hop between them, right? And you can go at different paces. And when you hop in one, you might not see some others for a while because you're going at different speeds or, different curves. And yet there is going to be other people in the current, and like
mhm.
always be the people arising to meet you. We have 8 billion people on this planet. You are definitely
Yeah. Yeah, and I think once you start, it's so beautiful because I feel like in a way it's I don't see I mean, since making that shift, really just showing my full, like, this is just who I am, take it or leave it, it's sort of been this, like, beautiful, like, oh, the more that I do, the more people come to me, and I see it, like, my friendships are that way, my partner, and I found him after my partner now, I got divorced, and I was like, "I'm just gonna continue, like, showing like, really owning, you know, all that I am, and I made this long list, that I was manifesting, and, like, I'm like, "No one was gonna see this list," and there was things on this list that I'm like, "These are very, very specific," and it's funny, with my partner, we joke around, and he was like we were like, "We're just made for each other." The way that, like, these nuances and things that, like, we do for each other that we thought was, like, just this, like, "Oh, that would be a nice, like, wish," like, he does and I do for him, and it's just, like, so beautiful, right? Because like, the attunement and, like and we're constantly learning each other, right, as we both grow, but, like, there's just things that, like, wow, I never thought that there would be someone that would be into that specific thing or do this thing for me, but you
right.
do. But yeah.
I'm so happy for you. That's absolutely me. Yes. Yes. 100%. I'm so
Yeah.
is it
I think the dating advice I tell my friends who are also sort of in their own spiritual witchy type thing is like, just say it outright, But that dating advice that people like, okay, like put your best self, but don't show everything until later. I'm like, no. The
ready.
first time I met my man, I don't know how we got into the conversation, but I was like, I'm a witch. I practice sex, like all of these things, you know. And I was like, you're either repelled or you're like
Yeah.
you're drawn to you. And he told me, I don't know what you were talking about, but I was just so drawn to you. He was like, I thought you put a spell on me.
Wow, that's hilarious.
I was
That's
like, "But that's because the authenticity." And I think, like, when I saw you, like, I was just immediately drawn to you and like how you showed up. I just felt magnetized, and I wanted to have conversations with you.
cool.
Good
Thank you so
energy. Yeah.
much. We have so many similarities, and I look forward to seeing how we weave more.
Yeah. Where in the world are you, by the way?
Yeah, that changes. So right now I'm in Toronto, in Canada, which is
Mm,
where I've been based, and that's where I'm from. And then I used
mhm.
to go down south for the winters. I was living in LA this year for quite some time, and then needed to come back to Canada. And just, it's interesting to actually, I was feeling quite repelled by LA, and then the fires happened, and yeah, it's just been interesting. I like felt them coming, and that was like another like side note. Like it was the first time I've ever actually predicted something like that, where I actually told my friends like, "There's LA is going to be on fire," like multiple times. It was wild, and then felt like it wasn't the time to go back. And yeah, so I'm here for a little bit longer. I'll be doing some travel at the end of February for work, and yeah, then I'll be back in LA for a bit. But yeah, back to Toronto.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, and so one of the things that, like, you talked about was you do like, you work one-on-one, do you do groups? Like, how can people, if they're interested in your working with you in all the different ways, how are they able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, because there's different tiers, I have some online courses that are go at your own pace for those who are wanting to explore and yet aren't really quite ready for one-on-one work or for BDSM or anything like that. And so this really flows with movement and sound and learning about Kundalini and Tantra. And it's for beginners and like embodiment and really connecting with your magnetic muse, actually. That's what it's called. So the course, and then I also do one-on-one work with women. So I do online coaching, and I have a 3-month program as well as a 6-month program. And this is where we really get into the limiting beliefs that are holding you back and really begin that shedding process, just like the snake. Yes, as you mentioned earlier, we are entering the wood snake. Super excited.
Yes, it is a snake.
Yeah, I noticed it. You're like on all the symbolism, weaving all your magic. It's amazing. And yeah, it's like we go into personalized rituals as well. We do energy work, energy clearing, past life regression comes through, movement modalities, and it's really I'm like helping you embrace your power without fear and love yourself so much that you can do what you are here on earth to do.
Yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful. And where can, people find you online? And do you know where you're going to be doing these performances or not yet?
Yeah, totally. So, by the time this podcast comes out in April, probably not yet. I'll definitely be doing some performances in LA and Toronto. And people can find me on Instagram at Cheyenne Sapphire Official and also my website, CheyenneSapphire.com. And, I think I'm actually gonna create like, those apps where you can text and then they get like
Mhm.
your events are. I might do that as well. Because I do travel quite a bit, but you can also sign up for my email list and I'll be sharing things through there. Yeah, there's gonna be lots happening in many different countries. But yeah, LA, Toronto are kind of hubs right now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's so much that encompasses your work, your artistry. Is there something that you want to share with people that people may not know about it, or you want to share with them because they may not like, "Oh, okay, like put those two and two together?"
Great question. It's all art. And art, I have a saying that I go by that's transform suffering through art. Really, sometimes in my darkest days when I have no idea what to do, or I feel at such a loss, or I feel left out by God, or, like really existential experiences, I create art. And that helps me bring through the suffering that is in my mind, right? Because it is me.
Mhm.
And then it brings it out into form and it's released from my body. And this is also what happens in the healing work. It's like
Mhm.
the mind into the body and released. And this alchemical process is essentially the same. And it
Mhm.
grew in many different facets. And that is the synergy between what I am doing. It's really like moving through and going inwards, not resisting, not denying. We're going to go in and express, release. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it because think of that, I think of really the cycle of energy, like, that goes through all living things and back through earth, like the cycle of life and death. You know, it's like the energy that moves. Energy can't be destroyed. It's
Mhm.
transformed and changed. So, like, even, in this 3D matter world that we are in Gaia, like, our bodies go back to the earth, which, are alchemized by the earth. It's broken down by all the mushrooms, the bacteria, all that stuff, which goes back into trees and plants and all these things that we eat or the animals eat that gets back into, like, it's all just a cycle, but it has to move through
Absolutely.
because it's that stagnation that, like, that's what creates that the stored trauma, diseases, suffering, all the things because there's not that flow that
Mhm.
moves for us.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I feel into it and think about it as well. And, it's like so many times when we are in the valley, where we may think, oh my God, I'm going to stay here forever. Right. And that's the fear where it's like this
Mhm,
is worse and now it's not going away. And then same when we're at the peak where we're like, this is amazing. I'm forever going to be this way. And that's just not life. You know what I mean? Maybe if you reached enlightenment and you're completely in nirvana, for sure, amazing. And like, yes, go get it. You know what I mean? And for the rest of us, you know what I mean? It's like it's going to be these
mhm,
waves, like the surfer on the ocean, or just the decaying leaves and then the winter and the spring, just like you mentioned, and just trusting that and just like each breath we take, each blink of our eyes, each time we rise from our we have the opportunity to be reborn and to have a clean slate and to be in the quantum and to create a reality. And there are so many systems within our body that continuously have this opening and closing. I
mhm,
just mentioned, even like in the organs or your heart, the beat, it's like beat, release, or the lungs, expand, contract, or your rectum, release, close, or
mhm.
whatever it is. Like we have all of these different experiences of opening and release, contraction and expansion. That is physics. So, with whatever you're going through right now, there will be the release, trusting in that process and allowing yourself to submit, surrender to it. And like that is where all the magic lies.
Yeah. I love that word surrender, and you mentioned it several times because that's really been my mantra the last few years,
Yeah.
is, like, just surrender to the mystery, to, like to life the mystery path, just surrender, and every time I have, and this is from someone who had definite control issues before, which was, a trauma response to be able to control what I was able to control. The
Mhm.
act of surrendering is still sometimes, not always the easiest, but
Totally.
as a muscle, it's like, "Okay, I have evidence now." It's like, just gather the evidence that every time that I do surrender, good things happen. This is why I tell my clients, just, like, keep a running track of evidence for you of what's happened, because we tend to think, "Oh, this did it." I'm like, "But what did?" And people realize, "Oh, yeah, when I did do this, this happened." "Okay." I'm like, "Actually write it down. Put in a Post-it somewhere so you see it." Like,
Absolutely.
you're like, "Oh, okay, when I did do that, magic did okay, okay." And so, like, you start, like, easing into the trust that surrender
Yeah.
does. Like, magic happens so much when you surrender.
100%. I tell my clients to do the same thing, to write it
Yeah.
and also to make videos so they can
Mhm,
look back at the videos when they go through a breakthrough or when they have released a phobia or overcome something that for years they completely thought they could never overcome, you
mhm.
know, or yeah, when they let go, what happened? Take a video and then set a timer in a month, or sometime in advance where it's like, who knows, it might be a random time, but then you look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, like
I love that. I love the video. I've told my clients to send a letter to themselves,
have
but, like,
them.
I love the video part. I'm going to borrow that because I love the I love it, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's important. And also having good friends who also remind you, I had called
Yeah.
a friend of mine last night and she also reminded me like, Cheyenne, that's not really how it was in the past. I was like, it was so perfect. This was just like a living situation. She said like, do you remember that? do this. And I thought, oh yeah, I wasn't thinking that. She's like, yeah, I'm just gonna remind you, like, you know, that it just helped me like have that perspective again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
We tend to romanticize, like, the past. "Oh, yeah, that did happen, but I just remember the good stuff."
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you'd love to share with our Thyro Lifestyle audience?
Yes, celebrate yourself.
Mm.
Another activity that I love to do with myself, my friends, my family, and my clients, like everyone, really, just like all, even strangers. I'm like, yes, that coat's dope.
Yeah.
So not just with compliments, but also like actually taking the time to celebrate yourself, even for the small wins, or it doesn't even have to be a win. You know what I mean? Like whatever it may be, you flossed your teeth when you said you would, or like you tidied up, or it doesn't even have to be these things, action and approval, but it can just be like, I felt good for an hour. Like, yes. And like give yourself a round of applause case. There's two steps to this. Celebrating yourself and just like literally taking a moment. Maybe that's a dance. Maybe you're just like, yes, I just did that. Like, great job. Or I just did that thing that I used to be afraid of, or I got closer to that thing I used to be afraid of. It doesn't have to be always the end result that we are celebrating, right? Because then
Mhm.
that's not taking time to celebrate the journey. And as well, it's when the more you celebrate, the more you are creating the feedback loop in your brain chemistry that celebration is good and you like celebration. That means more things in your life are going to arise that require celebration. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
celebratory energy is just coming at you because you're taking that time to honor yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's that. And then also the rounds of applause. This is something that I've really just used with very close friends of mine. And now I'm actually feeling like I need to create a global movement of this. Like, I need to share it online and I'm going to share it here with you first. So excited about this.
Yeah,
I'll
all ears.
Yeah, so it's honestly like giving a round of applause to people. I've done it a few times here and it's been like shorter moments because we're also like on a podcast, but like truly like let's say you tell me something and it's amazing and I literally will like yes, fuck yes, like give the rounds of applause, And then I also actually go on YouTube and go to applause sound effects and I put it on and I like get the full energy as if someone is standing on a stage and then you can, it depends where they're at, but you can also encourage people to like literally stand and receive the energy of applause, and it's really fun to just let them receive that. Congratulations. Again, it does not need to be an enormous life accomplishment. It could be something small. It could be, I caught the bus on time today, or like I arrived, whatever, earlier, like whatever it may be, if it's a little thing you like struggle with, So that's a really fun one as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. Because I think that, like, there's a quote that I love always saying, "The more you celebrate life, the more there is in life to celebrate." I think it's like an Oprah Winfrey quote, but it's true. Like, the more that we notice, like, "Oh, I'm grateful for this, I'm celebrating that," you start noticing that there's so much more to celebrate. So it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's nice. And it's also like, as I'm just thinking about it as you're speaking about it, I'm wondering, I don't have the answer to this aspect of this yet, but I'm pondering right now of does the inner celebration and applause even to yourself then reduce the need for external validation, possibly because like you're celebrating yourself. Maybe you posted something on Instagram that it's like, a little risque or in whatever context that means to you, or you just
Mhm.
posted on Instagram for the first time. Maybe you never have, or you shared something vulnerable. And it's like, maybe no one liked it. Maybe no one commented, whatever it may be. But it's like, before you even checked for that, if you gave yourself that applause, you know what I mean? And like really took yourself to celebrate, it's like, whatever, like you've got yourself, right?
Yeah. I love that you pointed it out because I think people should like their own stuff and be like, "Yeah, that's me." Like, cause I like and I'm like, "Yeah, I if I saw this, I would like it too. I love this." Like, I'm all about that. Like,
Right.
love your own stuff, like, stand behind it and, like, celebrate you, and I think it is true, like, the more you do celebrate and have that internal validation, you don't seek it out as much from others because, like, you know your truth. Regardless if people celebrate you or not, you know that you're like, "Well, I know I'm good." Like, I celebrate myself. So I think it's a really great inner work and muscle to build.
Absolutely. And that's what cultivates the magnetism.
Mhm.
Can feel it. You can sense it immediately, whether it's online or in person at an event. It's like, woof. a person just knows themselves and it's like, oh, I want to talk to them. Or like, yeah, there could be 100 people in the room and I might only see like 2 people who I'm like, yeah, they're dope. And it's because they're doing whatever the fuck they want. Always coming from the heart. Those are the people that I resonate with, of course. And yeah, I can, and everyone can feel it. You can, we all know. We've seen those people. I can like think of people in my head of key moments where I've been like, and I could feel so many people around also going, and some are looking with jealous eyes, some are looking with admiration, some are afraid. You know what I mean? But I'm like, yeah, that person, I don't know who they are, what they do, but like they know themselves and they're cool at that. They could be a mathematician. Dope. You know what I mean? Like something that is completely out of my field. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? But I'm like, cool. Like you, boom, you're in it. You know what I mean? I want to have a conversation with you. There's something.
Yeah. Because energy speaks louder than words, and you can sense that. You can feel it.
100%. Yes.
Beautiful.
Sisters, are you ready to reclaim your wild, sacred, feminine power? Join us for Savage Feminine Reclamation, an intimate, luxurious, and transformative retreat happening September 22 to 27, 2025 in Tulum, Mexico. This isn't just a retreat. It's a sacred 5-day journey into the heart of your divine feminine essence. Through powerful embodiment practices, rituals, and deep connections with nature, you'll shed old layers, awaken your inner goddess, and step into your fullest power, while also enjoying time to explore Tulum's famous cenotes and white sand beaches. Space is extremely limited to ensure a deeply personalized and transformative experience. Don't wait, there's only 10 spots available. Secure your spot now and give yourself the reclamation your soul has been craving. Visit thriverlifestyle.com to learn more and reserve your place today. This is your time. Answer your soul's call to reclaim your savage feminine power.
And the last question that I always love to ask my guests is, in your own words, what do you think it means to live a thriver lifestyle?
Just feel into that. Well, I believe living a thriver lifestyle, is living authentically, which couples with what we were just sharing on a moment ago, and also forgiveness that actually came through. Well, to forgive yourself and allow that like almost like the bubbling energy of the fountain within of your truth to come through, and also the continuous unfolding of the many-petaled lotus of just like allowing, releasing, and allowing what's there to emerge in your authentic expression.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, I'm a big fan of the many-petaled lotus. The rebrand of Thriver Lifestyle actually has a lotus and a snake coming out of it. So, yeah, I have a sternum tattoo of a lotus because it means so, and snakes. So, yeah.
Amazing. That's awesome. I did not know that.
Well, thank you so much, Cheyenne, for being on the podcast. I loved our conversation. We'll definitely be in touch. And anyone who wants to know more about your work, we're linking all of your links, social media, and everything on the show notes. So yeah, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
It was so wonderful to speak with you. I so look forward to more weaving with you, and thanks everyone who is listening, and be in touch with me if you have questions or comments. Would love to hear from you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening or watching the Thriver Lifestyle Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to stay inspired with new conversations each week. Your support means the world. Please share this episode with your community, whether it's your team at work or closest friends. Together, we can spread the message of embodied leadership, holistic wellness, and thriving as a collective. Follow me on social media for more insights and behind-the-scenes content. And if something resonated with you today, please leave a podcast review. It helps us get our message to even more people all around the world. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are divine, and you are meant to thrive. See you in the next episode.